Most leaders think that they would know if their team was misaligned. They imagine it looks like open conflict, missed targets, people refusing to cooperate, something visible and dramatic that makes the problem impossible to ignore. But that is not what misalignment usually looks like, not from the inside. From the inside, misalignment is quiet, it is polite. It looks like the team that is showing up, doing the work, hitting some of the metrics, and somehow still not moving in the same direction. A team where something is slightly off, but nobody can quite name what it is. That is the version of misalignment that is most dangerous because it is easy to miss. And by the time it becomes visible enough to be undeniable, it has usually been building for a long time. We're going to be using pillars from the fulfill method, starting with unity. What misalignment actually feels like day to day. Here is what unity breakdown looks like before it becomes a crisis. Meetings where everyone agrees in the room, then goes back to their desks and does something slightly different. Not deliberately, not defiantly, just because the agreement in the room was never specific enough to produce consistent action outside of it. Projects that stalls not because people are unwilling, but because different people have different assumptions about what the priority actually is. Nobody checked, nobody asked, everyone assumed they were aligned because nobody said they were not. A team where the leader feels like they are repeating themselves constantly, the same direction, the same priority, the same standard, and still finding that the team are not landing the way they intended. Not because the team is not listening, but because the clarity has not been building deeply enough to survive distance between the conversation and the execution. Unity does not break dramatically. It erodes meeting by meeting, decision by decision, each individual gap small enough to overlook until the accumulated drift becomes the culture. The next one is feedback. Why nobody is saying what is actually happening or what they are actually experiencing. So here's what makes misalignment so hard to catch early. The people closest to it, the ones who can feel the drift most clearly, are almost never the ones saying anything about it. Not because they are not noticed, but because the environment has not made saying something feel safe enough to be worth the risk. A team member who noticed the misalignment has a calculation to make. Do I raise this and risk being seen as difficult, negative, or not a team player? Or do I keep my head down, do my part, and hope someone else says something? Most of the time, they choose the second option. And so the leader gets clean updates, polished progress reports, meetings where the surface look fine, while something underneath is quietly drifting further from where it needs to be. The absence of complaint is not the presence of alignment. It is one of the most common mistakes leaders make. Reading silence as confirmation that everything is working. Silence is not confirmation. It is often the sound of a team that has learned that honesty is not worth the cost. The next one is leadership, where the misalignment actually starts. Here's the hardest part of this conversation. Team misalignment almost always starts with leadership misalignment, not between leaders, within leaders. When a leader is unclear about the priority, the team will be unclear. When a leader sends mixed signals, saying one thing and doing another, prioritizing one thing in the meeting and something else in the decision, the team will reflect that confusion back in everything they do. When a leader is privately uncertain about the direction, project confidence publicly, the team picks up the uncertainty even when they cannot name it, and they respond to what they feel rather than what they hear. The most common source of team misalignment is a leader who has not done the work of getting genuinely clear themselves, who has been moving fast enough that internal clarity that alignment requires has never been properly established. That is one of the most uncomfortable diagnoses, but it's an honest one. And honest diagnoses are the ones that lead to real fixes. So if something feels slightly off in how your team is moving, if there's a vague sense that the pieces are not quite fitting together the way they should, do not look at the team first. Look at the clarity you have been operating from. Look at what you have been modeling. Look at whether honest feedback about what is actually happening has been reaching you. Team misalignment is almost never team problem. It is a leadership structural problem that the team is reflecting back. And the moment you can see it clearly, really clearly, without defending against it, is the moment you can actually fix it. If you want to see where your unity, feedback, and leadership pillars stand across your full structure, the Fulfill Executive Skill Assessment will show you in less than 10 minutes. It's completely free. The link is in the show note or the description. I want to also use this opportunity to invite you to the Fulfill Leaders ecosystem, where you have all the tools and resources needed to build a strong leadership foundation and scale your company, organization, or your business. We are running a 7-day free trial. Check the link out in the description so you can be part of something that will actually change the trajectory of what you are building. Thank you for sticking around for today's episode. I'll catch you tomorrow for the next one.